Well, I'm Storm Track 12 meteorologist Lesto. We're getting you set for the upcoming 2021 hurricane season. And for that, let's go over some of the safety tips you kind of need to know about. So the first question I always get is, why are we at risk here in eastern North Carolina? Well, all you really need to do is just kind of look at the map. We literally stick out into the ocean. And when you go back and look at the historical tracks of hurricanes and tropical systems, this is just not since 1950. We've had all these. I had to stop it at 100 systems that passed within 50 miles of us here in Emerald Isle. So again, we stick out into the ocean. This is part of the reason why that we are so at risk here in eastern North Carolina. Couple that with the fact that we've got the Gulf Stream water there. And that goes into why we get tropical activity. So before we start talking about how and why and what you need to do, let's talk about how tropical systems form. Basically, you've got moist, unstable air out over the warm ocean water that leads to, well, air going from the ground up into the clouds. That starts to get thunderstorms developing here. Then when you get a bunch of mass of those thunderstorms developing, you'll start to get the rotation into the atmosphere. This could be either tropical depression, tropical storm, and this is also how hurricanes really start to develop. But the most important part is you need water temperatures over 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's part of the reason why the Gulf Stream really comes into play for us here in eastern North Carolina. Now, tropical depression is anything with winds up to about 38 miles per hour. After that, when you start to get, say, 39 to about 73 miles per hour, that's when you're talking about tropical storm. When it reaches that, that's where it gets its name designation. After that, then you start talking about hurricanes, Category 1, Category 2, Category 3. And we'll kind of break those down for you here in just a little bit. But when we're starting to talk about June, early season tropical development, you have to watch for areas close to the United States or close to land. Now, one of those areas is off of the southeast coast of the United States. But another area we're also watch for is down in the Yucatan Peninsula and also into the Gulf of Mexico. And that's where some of those systems that develop there can hook and come up towards us here in eastern North Carolina. The problem is, though, as you go through these different areas, through the different months of the year, that's where you kind of see them change from in close development, which is usually June, possibly early July, but then also the tail end of the season, as you get into October and November, you'll kind of see them return back to the close areas. But this is the area that we always have to watch for, anything developing down in the Caribbean or the Bahamas that some way could find its way up here to eastern North Carolina. Now, let's talk about that Stafford-Simpson scale. This was created, which it's kind of a little bit of a misnomer because it has to do a lot with wind speed, but also has to do with storm surge, and that's something we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Normally, tropical depressions, tropical storms, we can handle that. And in fact, we have certain building codes that say they must be able to withstand winds up to 120, 130 miles an hour for a 1.5 to 2 minute time period. That is in the building codes for the safety while you're living here on the island. But also, as you start to get those winds in excess of 120, 130, and especially once you get a Category 5 at 155 miles an hour, you're looking at catastrophic damage. And again, usually that's the time to start getting out when you start talking about a major system that's a Category 3 or higher coming to us here in eastern North Carolina. But the other aspect of this is the storm surge. So what storm surge is, basically, you take your normal water level, plus then on top of that, you add the wind action that is all being forced in by the direction of the wind. We saw back this with Florence, with Irene, even go back to, some of the weak tropical systems that created some breaks in the barriers and the islands for us here. When you start talking about a Category 3, Category 4, Category 5 storm, now you're starting to get that higher storm surge. And about 4 or 5 years ago, the National Hurricane Center actually came out with a special storm surge warning and storm surge watch that it could be issued along with the hurricane or tropical storm warning or watch. So that leads us right into what is the difference between a warning and a watch. Well, normally a watch is issued anywhere between 48 to 72 hours out when you're going to be anticipating either tropical storm strength conditions, which is up to 73 miles an hour, or hurricane force conditions would start at 74 miles an hour. Once you get within that 36-hour window that the imminent conditions are about to beset us here on the island, that's when you will see that hurricane watch or tropical storm watch go to a hurricane warning or tropical storm warning for us here. That it is on the radar, it's something that the countdown is on, and you need to quickly get your actions taken care of, whether it be evacuating or just get hunkered down if you're planning on riding it out. So here we are. This is the 2021 name list. Not a whole lot of weird names on the list here. We've got Anna, we've got Bill, Claudette, Danny, Elsa. That replaced the E-Storm name about 5 years ago. I forget what name of that was. Henri, that's how you pronounce that one. But other than that, they're fairly easy names this year. We don't have a whole lot of complicated ones like we have in years past. So I hope this gets you set for the 2021 hurricane season. We also want you to, of course, watch us on News Channel 12, download our Storm Track 12 mobile app, and any warnings or watches come out. And the other thing we often have to worry about here in eastern North Carolina is while we're in the middle of a hurricane or tropical system, we can actually get tornadoes developing and water spouts offshore that come towards the coast here. So there's many different facets you need to prepare for here while you're on the island. I'm Storm Track 12 meteorologist Les Still.